is a piece of life's puzzle that most of us would rather do without. If given a choice, we'd probably design a life that's pain-free, filled only with pleasant, feel-good things. Some pain seems to have no purpose at all, and is something only we just have to endure. But pain is often a signal that something in our life needs attention in order for us to live happily and healthily. For example, the pain in some part of my body, like my chest pain, for example, might be a sign that something is wrong and tells me to get it checked out before it gets more serious. In the same way, the pain of loneliness reminds me that I need connection with others in order to live. So pain can be helpful, useful even. Now, there are different kinds of pain. There's physical pain, which most everyone understands, even if we don't know exactly the source of the pain. And then there's emotional or psychological pain. This pain is less understandable for us generally because we experience it differently as different people. Whereas everyone feels the same physical pain of accidentally cutting one's finger, not everyone feels the same pain involved in being insulted, for example. Emotional pain includes feelings of shame, of loss, loneliness, guilt, depression, anxiety, uselessness, just to name a few. And we ignore that pain at our own peril. One way we ignore pain is to say, well, I'm tough. I can take it. Or we tell someone else, you're tough. You can take it. Although there's nothing else to do with some pain except just take it, endure it. Claiming we're impervious to pain and doing nothing to alleviate it can be self-defeating and even dangerous. When we're in pain, it automatically takes much of our attention and focus, which means we're less able to attend to other important things like our work or our relationships. Pain can zap our energy and leave us dangerously close to running out of energy. That's what happens when someone who suffers the pain of uselessness and meaningless for a long time and eventually kills themselves because the pain is too much. Sometimes we try to dull the pain or numb ourselves to it. That's a way of denying it. People often turn to alcohol or other drugs for that purpose. Now, they do take care of the pain temporarily, but of course the side effects are awful and they are very debilitating. Sometimes we deny we are in pain. An example is when someone who gets laid off from their job and says, I've lost jobs before, you just move on. Kind of like, well, that's not much, as if it didn't even happen. But if the pain isn't acknowledged and dealt with somehow, it can stay locked up inside and develop into worse things like depression. We as a society sometimes deny the pain among us, which causes us much heartache. We've seen what happens when the experience of pain in one part of society, like the pain from economic exclusion and the pain of prejudice, when that pain is downplayed or explained away or denied instead of being effectively dealt with. The pain builds up until it becomes unbearable. And like the person who kills themselves to get away from the pain, people will do irrational things to get away from societal pain. Riots are often a reaction to long-term societal pain when it builds up and it just bursts out. An example from history is the French Revolution, when the poor in that country could take the suffering no longer. They're being poor and not allowed the necessities of life. And they rampaged and revolted. They beheaded many of the ruling class of the time. Marie Antoinette, who was queen at the time, when told of the suffering of the poor and that they didn't have any bread, is rumored to have said famously, let them eat cake. Well, you can't deny societal suffering much more blatantly than that. and of course, she paid the price. So what to do with pain? Well, first of all, we need to acknowledge it and not minimize it. It doesn't matter if others are suffering more than us, or if someone says, well, you shouldn't feel that pain. Our pain is our pain, and we have a right to reduce or alleviate it or deal with it in whichever way it works. Then we need to do everything we can to identify the source of the pain. Now, with physical pain, this will probably mean employing the help of medical professionals. But even then, it's important to try to get to the root cause of the pain rather than simply covering up the symptoms with painkillers. Some in our medical professions do that, just cover up the pain, treat the symptoms, and never get to the root causes. We have to identifying the cause of emotional pain is sometimes more challenging, but it can be accomplished by examining life events, looking at our experiences, our reactions to life events, and that's where emotional pain comes from. And employing the help of a counselor or therapist, can help in this regard sometimes, and can help us identify where the pain is, where it comes from, and how we might reduce the emotional pain. In my experience, the most effective way to reduce emotional or psychological pain is connection with others, which is relationship. Since we all have basically the same experiences of pain, we have the ability to relate to each other's pain and help each other carry it. The old saying, many hands lighten the load, is true when carrying a load of pain. But this means the person in pain has to let others know that they're in pain. Others are not mind readers, and the person has to reach out for help. Sometimes people let embarrassment or shame stop them from doing that. Well, I shouldn't be feeling this, so why should I tell others this? I'm embarrassed. And others, in turn, must be open to the possibility that the person is in pain, even if it doesn't seem like it, even if it's not obvious, but to believe them, that they are suffering, that they are in pain when they describe it, and be willing to support them through it, to give their time, their energy, their effort, their compassion in being there for the person. And things that get in the way of this, of course, we are well known: apathy, prejudice, ignorance. All those things can keep us from reaching out and helping each other bear their pain. Pain is a fact of life, a piece of the puzzle. We never get away from it. But if we face pain head on, acknowledge it, both our own and others' pain, with full awareness, and together address it, help each other address it, we can get through it much better and keep it from wiping us out.